So can you freeze tofu? I guess the short answer is yes, depending on if you like the texture or not. Hi guys, so today I am answering the age-old question of, can you freeze tofu? It's not really age-old, it's age-old according to my book because as you guys know, I have been making my own tofu a lot recently, which strange in its own right. Whenever I make a lot of things, or like let's say it was on sale at the grocery store and I bought a ton of it, I'm always like, well, you know, can I just buy a ton and then can I just stick it into the freezer afterwards and will it come out fine? So I've decided to freeze extra firm tofu, and this one's different, silken tofu as well, right? So ooh, that's the one that's going to be a little bit different, and maybe you guys might guess or not guess whether it'll taste the same or not. I forgot to get a spoon. Okay, beans, got my spoon. So before we start, I did look at a couple of online sites like Spruce, I think, talked about freezing your tofu. I think I saw a clip of Mary's Test Kitchen where she froze tofu to make, I think, fried chicken or something. And then even you guys have said that, you know, sometimes like your mom or something would put the tofu in the freezer and then squeeze it out afterwards and then, you know, put it in soups or whatnot. So in some ways, I think I understand how it is going to behave. I think that tofu generally, you can press it out a little bit more and expel a little bit more liquid. So the reasoning with like weird things that happen to food after freezing is essentially freezing freezes whatever water molecule is inside food, right? So as water molecules freeze, they expand and they get bigger. And when they get bigger, they kind of like destroy the cell walls of whatever food it's in. And so because the cell walls are destroyed, that's why when you finish freezing something and then you thaw it, especially like with vegetables or whatnot, you'll know that they, you know, they get much softer. It's almost like you cooked them already. And that's just because that like cell outside has been destroyed by the freezing. I expect maybe the same thing to happen to tofu, although I really wish that I didn't get the extra firm one because, you know, I think that if it wasn't extra firm, I would have more room to play around with it and to squeeze it out, because I think when it's extra firm, maybe I won't have any room to play around with. Honestly though, it looks just about the same. Okay, so honestly, guys, I apologize for the noise outside. I think that there's a festival going on. So I will say that visually the tofu looks about the same. It was pressed tofu, it was kind of cracky and lumpy before. I think it's cracky and lumpy now. Let me just take that out. Oh, I can definitely, do you guys see this? Ah! I can definitely squeeze out a lot more liquid from this, which is what basically everybody has said. Like, it's a good thing for squeezing out liquid. But I feel like before I squeeze out the liquid, let me just try a bite, because that wasn't really my point, to like dehydrate this stuff. My point was to kind of taste whether it still tasted good. Okay, so now that I've squeezed out a little bit of it, it smells the same. The inside looks about the same. I am going to say that for firm tofu, extra firm tofu, because so much of the water has been pressed out of the tofu already, like maybe there's slight differences, right? People usually say like after they freeze tofu, each of like the individual layers kind of like, it becomes like flaky, it becomes chunky because some of the water is expelled out in between. And so whatever used to have water before is now drier because all of the liquid has been pressed out, and so it becomes a little bit more flaky. But because this is extra firm tofu and like there was not a lot of water in it in the first place, I am going to say that extra firm tofu is freezable. You could totally freeze it and then bring it back to life. And now I kind of want to squeeze out, I want to see how much liquid I can squeeze out. I mean, I will say that it is probably, I mean, as it's supposed to, it's a lot easier to squeeze the water out, just because I think that the water and the soybeans have really separated even more during the freezing process. So for sure, those of you guys that are looking for like really, really, really firm pieces of tofu that's almost meaty, this is definitely a good method of getting, you know, tofu super dry, and then you can, you know, like breadcrumb it or whatnot, and then either like bake it or maybe fry it, and then you're gonna get like a very, very hard piece of tofu. So, no, I really like it. Like, it's no longer like soft and tofu. It's just it's like much more of a meaty, heartier texture. So let me get this cleaned off, and then we'll go to number 2, okay? Okay, so all cleaned. Now time for the silken tofu. So I really think that like I didn't have big hopes for this one, just because silken tofu has so much more water in it. I thought like for sure the whole thing would get separated. It'd be like flaky and kind of like gross and weird. So I'm just like, silken tofu, prove me wrong. So yeah, there's a lot of liquid in here. So far from the top, it looks really good. So let's let it go. Okay, now that I've taken it out, I will say that it's almost like old people wrinkly skin is what we see here. Initially from the top and the bottom, I thought it felt pretty normal, but upon looking now, you can actually see like the little layers kind of separate, and no doubt, like I can already feel it right now. I can squeeze out a lot of liquid. And it feels like it's like layery. Like, you know, like the bean curd skin layers? I almost feel like it's like that. Yeah, for sure, like this has a lot more potential. Like you can squeeze out so much more. And it's almost like flattened now. There is still like, I could probably still squeeze out a lot more from this. Not exactly sure why I would. Because I feel like probably like the firm tofu would do a lot better. You're still gonna get a better texture out of the firm tofu, but who knows? Okay. All right, so this is, oh, oops, it broke. Okay, so this is what I'm left with. So yeah, let's just kind of give it a try. See how it tastes. It doesn't taste bad. I mean, obviously it's no longer silken, right? Like, why would you do this to silken tofu anyways? It no longer has that kind of like velvety, you know, custardy texture. I feel like even if I tried to squeeze out more, it's never going to taste as firm or as meaty as the extra firm one. It's not sandy, but you can like taste a lot of like little bits. It's almost like, I don't know, like eating flour or something. Versus for the extra firm, it's still like everything is still in chunks. Like it wasn't ground that finely. Whereas this, I feel like we kind of guessed before. I don't think that silken tofu is freezable, but certainly I have no objections against freezing extra firm tofu. I'd say if you didn't really wring it out, the texture it tastes pretty close to the original. And then if you did want to wring it out some more, you could actually just, you know, marinate this afterwards, and you're gonna get some nice meaty chunks to this tofu. Alrighty guys, I hope that was enlightening. I'm going to go and clean this mess up right now, but if you guys are interested in seeing me freeze anything else, you guys have some questions on what's freezable, what's not. Probably the important thing is it's not what's freezable and what's not, because we already have lists for those, but it's like, well, what does it taste like? What does it turn out to be after we freeze it? And then can we use it for any other application? I think is probably the bigger thing. So yeah, I hope you guys all enjoyed this, and I will see you guys again soon, okay? All right, bye.